Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Cup Coffee. Pastor Tom here with you. We have a wonderful conversation coming up today. This lady sitting next to me is a wife, a mother, a businesswoman. Anything you need, she could probably pull that off. Her name is Fatima. She has been part of our RCC family for a number of years, and she stopped in, oh my goodness, it had to be around Christmas time? To drop something off at the office. We're standing up in the front of the office, started having a conversation, and I'm not going to preempt it, but she shared a story with me, and I said, hey, would you be willing to talk about this on the Second Cup of Coffee? And you'll understand a little bit more as we get into it. But this month we've been talking about the beauty of the prophetic, and sometimes the prophetic is an action, not always a word. And you're just going to have to trust me on that. What I mean by the prophetic being in action, if you believe God has called you to do something, you have to take that step. So sometimes you'll be in a service and they're like, hey, take a step out of where you are. And it's just activating my faith to receive whatever it is that God has for me. But sometimes I need help in doing that. So while I may have an idea, or I may even, we talked about Paul being shipwrecked, he's headed towards something. I will kind of not preempt, but set it up a little bit. You had a specific goal, ran into some obstacles, but said, I'm still going to go on with this. So can you kind of just walk them through what that was, kind of how it looked like in your life? I know you, I'll interject or if I have questions, but if we could just start there, kind of what was your goal? What did you want to do?
So ultimately, it was to complete the marathon. I had set out to challenge myself to complete the marathon. And
now, for those that are LA Marathon?
Yes.
So 26.2 miles?
Yes.
A lot long. Yeah, right.
Right. It's not like 2 miles here. No. You can do it. No, it's definitely.
I would say average person, right? Average runner runs it, 4.5 hours? I mean, so it's pretty long. I mean, not average. I'm just saying, I don't know what. The high-end runners run it, 2.5 hours? So, somewhere in between there or longer, just depending. But so that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, so it was definitely a challenge, 26.2 miles. I ended up finishing at 6 hours and 30 minutes, which was my original goal.
That was your goal?
That was my goal.
All right.
My goal was to finish within that time frame. Something that I had trained for. And, I think once I was there, it's more, you get to a point where it's no longer your body and it's all your mind. And so you come across obstacles, going into it, you start strong. And then as you go mile, 16 miles, 17 mile, 18, that's when you're ready to give up because you feel like you can't keep going anymore. Not to mention the uphills and cramps and all of that.
So 16, 17, 18, you're still 10 miles, 9 miles, 8 miles out from your goal. Let me ask you a question. Had you run 26.2 miles, had you run, because not everybody trained, I've done research on training, and some people they say don't run the whole thing, train up to this point, and then your body will take you the rest of the way. So had you even, I don't know, I think it would be hard for me if I hadn't gone over those barriers to be in the midst of it, wow, I still got 8, 9, 10 miles to go. Do I want to do this? Had you run the actual distance before?
No. It was my first time.
Wow.
And so it was my first time, setting that goal and going for that goal. I've done my minor runs, 5, I think, in my training. Yeah, you're not supposed to run the whole 26 miles, but in my training, the furthest I got was about 14, 15 miles. So right about that halfway mark.
Okay. So you're with 16, so you're going beyond where you had been.
Yes.
And I think that's important to notice or to point out to you guys spiritually. There's going to be a point where you have to go beyond where you've been before. And I think it's important to this story to correlate it spiritually. When you get into these unknown waters, now what? So anyway, so now you're miles 16, 17, 18.
And that's where, that doubt starts to kick in. So that, am I going to finish this? Can I physically finish this? Am I capable of finishing this? And, you start challenging yourself. And at the same time, sometimes, I got to a point between 16 to 23rd mile where it was constant battle with myself and my mind. My body felt like I can't go anymore. But my mind, was like, you can do this. But at certain points, it was like, okay, I'm ready to give up. Like, if you give up, like, you're going to give up. That's it. Like, sit down and don't worry.
And nobody would have blamed you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you made it this far. It's quite an accomplishment, right? And,
Yeah.
Well, and I think you told me at that point, you're like even calling your husband on the course, right?
Yeah.
On the course, running on the cell phone. And what was he saying to you?
Yeah, he was telling me, keep going. I got to a point where I just wanted to sit down and cry because I wanted to finish it so bad within me, but I felt like my body couldn't go anymore. And I remember, throughout that course, like praying and saying, Lord, if I'm supposed to finish this, let me finish it. If I am not supposed to finish it, allow me to listen to my body and quit and know that it's okay to quit. So I got to a point where I had to call my husband and I said, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I can't physically keep going anymore as much as I want to, as much as, in my heart, I'm like, I have to keep going. I just said, I'm done. I can't go. I can't keep going. So he encouraged me and he definitely said, you trained for this. Like, you got this. You keep going. Don't give up. Look at, all those obstacles that you've overcome in your life and you've never been one to quit. So keep going. And so at that point I said, okay, I'm just going to walk. I was like, at this point, I'm just going to walk. Hopefully, one foot goes after the other and it just follows.
Right.
And then he sent a message out to my family and said, she feels like she's not going to make it and she's ready to quit. And, send her some encouraging thoughts. And so that's when the text messages started coming in.
Really?
Oh, it's like, I have a sister-in-law who told me the day before, if you don't quit, if you don't finish and you have to quit, you're fine. We're already proud of you. And she text messaged to me and she said, remember when I told you that yesterday? Forget it.
Now she's really pushing you to the finish line. Wow.
Yeah. So she said, forget it. You got this. Keep going. And then, my brothers, my siblings, they just were messaging me, my kids. Because my husband and my kids and my sister was waiting for me at the end.
Wow.
So
I want to put a pause on this really quick to bring it back to the spiritual. That's why community is so important. You were telling me off camera, you have 6 siblings.
Yes.
You're the middle, the first daughter, the middle child. But how, just hearing your story is so encouraging. Your husband... right, and then he reaches out to the broader community, and then they just start pouring in the encouragement, and that's how church should work. And I think we have a prayer chain here at church. If you guys don't know, if you have a prayer request, you can call into the office, and they'll put you on the prayer chain, and people will start praying. People you don't even know will start praying for you, encouraging you, and those types of things. So I want to just put a plug in because I think it's so. Number one, or a couple things. With your husband, it was almost like he was giving you prophetic direction, if we could say it that way. Like, look, these are the things you walk through. These are the things you've never given up, and speaking to your identity. And I think that is so cool. You have to have that lifeline. If the Word of God is a lifeline, your prayer life is a lifeline, worship is a lifeline. But also other believers. In her case, it's her husband. They have you don't have a closer relationship in life than that. And for that person to pour in life and then to get the surrounding community to begin to do that, you're seeing the impact and the effects of it. That's the beauty of the prophetic. That's the beauty of prophetic in this sense, sharing the heart of God for this person, reminding them who they are in Christ, right? Doing those things that help bring them across. And so you have all this going on, but you still have to walk or run and finish. So, and they're not on the course, right? They're waiting for you. That's awesome. So where are you at now? I mean, you're at what, mile 20 or wherever you are? Yeah.
Mile 20, mile 23. I got to those and I was like, okay, I got this. And, all throughout that course, it was just constant, like, you got this, you can do it. You can finish, finish the race that's set for you. Go, go, go. And I did. I got all the way to mile 26. And it must have been, the distance that I had from the time that I thought to myself, that's it, I'm going to give up. Like, I'm going to walk and I'm just not going to finish my goal. I'm just going to take it for what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
At this point, I was already proud of the fact that I had even made it to 26 miles, that I, didn't stop. And then at that point, I stopped and I started walking. And I said, okay, like, if I, walk, crawl, I don't know.
So you're at 26. So you got 0.2 miles.
Yeah, it was really short, the distance. And at that point, I said, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm okay, and I am okay. And
hold on, before she finishes the story, really quick, we left out a key piece, and I had forgot. You told me this. You got injured during training.
yes.
So before you all are like, well, if you trained hard, it wouldn't. Calm down. Calm yourselves down. Because she was training and she got hurt. And I don't remember what the end, but it cut a lot of your training time because you just couldn't run at all, right? Well, I don't remember what happened was.
So right before I got in a car accident.
Okay, yeah.
And it wasn't a major car accident, luckily. But I did break my foot bone.
The foot bone's kind of important when you want to run a marathon, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, right. Okay. So.
So it wasn't casted, but I did have it in a boot for a while.
Okay.
So all of that training that I had done, and the training that I had done to prepare myself to finish, had gone out down the drain because I was off my foot for so long.
Yeah.
And it was, I had to start back from square one.
And I will tell you, as somebody who's run a little, never to those distances, I just ran again for the first time yesterday. And I got home and my wife's like, how was it? And I'm like, I've had better runs. It's amazing how fast you lose the progress. Now you don't lose everything. Your body, after you break certain mile barriers, your mind can break those barriers, but your body is dragging, particularly the first couple runs out. So to be built up and then to have to go back to square one, my goodness, the fact that you even made it to 26, and we'll get to the rest of the story, but I wanted people to understand that because spiritually that happens. You're going on with God, and then you have a collision, whether it's for her it was a car accident. I have a broken bone. I have to have this. I can't do what God's asking me to do. And you have to realize in those moments, He understands that. And again, it's the beauty of the prophetic. He sees ahead before you do. And so I want to get to the end of it because there's a really beautiful part of this story that's coming up that will help you get some grace in your life if you're in this, what she was walking through, maybe not physically, but spiritually. I was going on with God. This thing happened, and I feel like I've lost everything. I'm back at square one. Now what do I do? And so here you are, mile 26. You got 0.2 miles to go, and you're done.
Yeah, I'm done. And I said, okay, I quit. That's it. I can't go no more. So right behind me, there was a couple. It was a couple, and they came to me and they said, we've seen you struggle. They said, we've been watching you for miles, and we've seen how much you've been struggling, and you haven't given up. And they said, is anybody here with you? And I told them, yeah, my husband and my kids and my sisters are waiting for me at the end. And they said, we're not going to allow you to give up. They literally, I'm not kidding. And, I wish I didn't get their names, but I wish I would have. They grabbed me by the arm, and, the husband and the wife, one on each arm, because my body was just like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. My mind at that point was set, okay, I'm done. They grabbed me and then they pushed me along. And right before we got to the finish, the crossing the line, they let go of me and they said, keep going.
Wow.
Yeah. And as soon as the moment that they said, we're not going to allow you to give up, I knew at that moment that it was the Lord who had sent them to me.
Wow. I hope you got that. It was God who sent them to me. So can you give some grace? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but spiritually, they may not be, a marathon, right? Not everybody does that, but life is a marathon, right? Yeah. And it's an endurance. And we're going to have times where we start out with God and we're going to have wrecks. And then we, our foot's broken, but we're supposed to be running the race. that little piece of grace that you just gave us, I knew God had sent them. What would, if you can, is there something you would speak to people who are like, I'm just done. I'm just done. Because in life, and you may have experienced this, we don't know it's point two. For all we know, it could be another 26 miles, right? It could be another 10 years. I don't know where I am even in this course, but I'm just done. What would you say to them based on your experience? I mean, just based on what happened just in that 0.2 miles. I mean,
I would say, honestly, sometimes we get so weary, and we think to ourselves, you know, maybe I've done something right. Maybe I've done everything right. Or, you know, I don't deserve this. How can I be going through this? And you're physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted at times. And you know, just like that, you say, where are you? You know, where are you? I don't know what else I have to do. And it's at that moment that, you know, I personally, for myself, many times he has, you know, reached out and said, I'm right here. You know, I'm right here. I'm going to take care of you. I know the plans I have for you. Don't be fearful. And
my goodness,
you know, time after time, he continues to tell me when I come to those stops in my life where I feel like, God, I just can't keep going anymore.
Yeah,
I'm done. And he, you know, it's that love that I've experienced, that relationship that I've experienced, that I know that he's not going to forsake me, or, you know, that he's not going to let me. And even though it's not something tangible, you know, I feel it. And that's what I would say. Like, don't keep searching. Keep, you know, even when you can't, keep searching, keep going, whether it's, you know, listening to worship, or whether it's praying, whether it's just sharing a word with someone, or someone sharing a word with you, you know, just keep searching.
Keep searching, and that's so good. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because that's where we need to be. We don't know if it's 0.2 miles or a lot more, but I love her testimony. He sent them to me. If you don't know what else to do, ask God that you could be those two people. We've watched you, we've seen you, and we want to help you finish. You help somebody else finish, I'll tell you, out of the Word of God. I'm not making this up. It says Job, who went through, talk about a marathon of all sorts of disappointments and downs and all of those things. It said God gave back to him when he prayed for his friends. You know somebody that's going through what you're going through, or some version of it, be those people that Fatima talked about, who came and said, we're not going to let you quit. And they only released her when she was at the finish line to cross over and then be met by her husband, her children, her sister, her community. We are your community. We are your family. We're here for you. I'm so grateful. She's part of our family and our community. Thank you for the testimony. Thank you for sharing this story with us. Thank you guys for watching. If it meant something to you, share it, and we'll talk to you soon.